I ask myself this question a lot. Is there such thing as purse piece, or will I ever reach purse piece? Purse piece is something that I know a lot of us have talked about in the handbag community, and I think it's always an interesting question because for me it's not so black and white. A long time ago I did think that there was something called purse piece because I would always say, okay, this is going to be my last bag. I always had that one bag that was going to complete my collection. There was that one bag that was oh so special and I had to have it, and once I had that I would be at purse piece. And what I soon realized was I said that a lot. And I think that means I'm either not at purse piece or I will never achieve purse piece. And for me, I think it was the latter. Now, I think everyone's relationship with handbags is very different and very personal. And I know that sounds really deep for something that's really just a handbag at the end of the day. But when you're someone who loves and appreciates handbags the way that I and so many of us do in this community, I think the question of purse piece is something that's a little bit more gray. I think you can reach purse piece for particular brands, and I think Chanel is a good example because of their price increases, how astronomical it's becoming. For a lot of people, they might be outpriced, or they might just lose interest and be like, it's just not worth it for me, and that's a personal choice. And either answer is fine. It's obviously a very personal decision. For me, I think I might have reached purse piece with Chanel because I have all the silhouettes that I love and that I know I wear, and I have the colors. And for me, Chanel prices have hit a point where it really hurts. So no, does that mean that I will never ever buy another Chanel bag? I know for certain I have no interest in buying any more classic flaps. Now, do I like looking at some of the seasonal pieces from time to time that come out? Yeah, because it's eye candy and it's beautiful and I can appreciate its beauty. I just don't appreciate its price point. So it's something that I choose not to buy anytime soon. But does that mean that I will never buy it? I don't know, never say never, but I can say for now, I'm at purse piece and I don't envision buying anything from Chanel in the foreseeable future. But at the moment, I do see myself at a pretty good place with purse piece with Chanel. I also think that you can reach purse piece with SLGs. When it comes to SLGs, I know that some people get really crazy with buying tons of different colors and silhouettes of SLGs because they really love SLGs. And I think that's great. But for me personally, I know that I'll only need a certain number of small leather goods. I know that I personally don't need 10 different wallets. I know I don't need 10 different card holders. I know that for my lifestyle that I don't like changing out my wallets that often. And so I tend to use the same wallets over and over again. So for me, I'm not necessarily an SLG junkie purely because I don't like switching things in and out all the time with all my cards and coins. Another area where I think you can reach a level of purse piece with are a type of silhouette of a handbag. Now, I love all handbags. I love all silhouettes of handbags because I am obsessed with handbags. But I also know my lifestyle. So for me, I love a good tote. I think everybody needs a tote in their lifestyle, whether it's for work or travel or having kids or that sort of thing. So I do think that totes are a universal silhouette that we can all use in our everyday lives. But I also know that I have neck and shoulder issues, so I don't like carrying heavy handbags. And totes in general are just worn in one way, which is on the shoulder. And because of its size, you're usually packing it with quite a lot of things, and it does have a tendency to get quite heavy. So for me, I know that I can cap the number of tote bags I have to a very limited amount. Now, that's not to say that I don't get tempted into wanting to buy more tote bags, because there are so many occasions where I actually do find myself looking at and admiring and being really tempted in buying certain tote bags because they really do speak to me. And I'm like, oh, but it's such a functional bag. But I know that I won't carry them to get my wear out of them. And totes are to be worn. Totes are not art pieces for me. They're everyday functional bags. And so I'll never just buy a tote just because it's pretty. So that's very much a practical side of me. And so it's very easy for me to be at purse piece with tote bags. Another silhouette that I can have complete purse piece with is teeny tiny bags. Now, this is my Fendi Fendacci collection, teeny tiny baguette. And it's the nano size, I guess it's called. And I absolutely love this. I have definitely worn this. Now this I got because I loved the Versace print and collaboration with Fendi. And I didn't want like a huge bag from the collection when it came out. But how many occasions do I actually have where I need to wear a teeny tiny bag that only carries cards and a lipstick? Not very many. At least not in my lifestyle. So these types of teeny tiny bags are something that I can really cap at. Now, I do understand that when certain collections come out, it becomes very tempting to say, I don't want a huge bag, so let me just get this tiny thing. But I know for me, because again, I'm a very practical person in my everyday life, I can have purse piece in saying that I don't need a million of these teeny tiny bags because I just won't wear them. It's easier for me to just say no. Just say no. It's like drugs. I mean, if we're being honest, handbags can be a drug. I mean, it is the same dopamine hit, isn't it? So I totally get falling down the rabbit hole of every time a new collection comes out and you just want a little piece of something and you get that little dopamine hit by just getting that one little teeny tiny thing because you think it's not that big of a deal. That's still a lot of money being spent. And for me, I like to think about it from the perspective of what else can I do with that money? And I can think of a lot of other ways to use that money. So it's a lot easier for me to say no than to just be like, let me get a tiny little piece of that, as tempting as it is. To be honest, I don't think that's necessarily easy for everybody to do, and I'm not saying that it is. I think it does take practice to say no to things, but for me, I don't like clutter. And clutter to me are things that are laying around that is not being used. And for me, that's a much more uncomfortable feeling that I prefer not to have a bunch of clutter than to buy something just because it's cute. So there is something to be said of you can really admire and love a collection and not buy it. For me, I think the most difficult question is, will I ever reach purse piece when it comes to your everyday beautiful designer handbag that is a medium size? I love that Goldilocks size. It's not too big, it's not too small. It's the perfect size to fit all your everyday essentials, and it's a beautiful aesthetic that really speaks to your style. That is probably my Achilles heel when it comes to reaching purse piece and answering that question. I know I won't reach purse piece, and I've reached peace in my mind knowing that I will not reach that. Now, that does not mean that I'm going to go out and buy every bag that I fall in love with that I see. The truth is that I don't think I will ever reach purse piece, but I can slow down how I purchase. And for me, that means that I have to face a few realities. One is that I only have a certain amount of physical space to hold my collection. The first truth is that I am not a collector. I am not someone who buys things purely for the sake of owning it and collecting it and not using it. I consider myself more of a curator, and maybe that's just semantics, and maybe to you that means the same thing as a collector. But for me, curating means I'm owning something that I'm also going to wear and enjoy. Because yes, the truth is that I love looking at these handbags that sit behind me on these shelves. That brings me a ton of joy, but that's only 50% of the joy for me. The other half is owning and wearing the bags. I need to wear the bags because I love styling my bags, and I love having my bags add to my outfit, even if it's not an outfit that's all that special. Because for me, a handbag is what can elevate a very basic outfit. So I guess what I have to distinguish when I consider buying a bag that I'm so in love with and obsessed with at the moment is to kind of just sit back and breathe and really assess whether this handbag is going to fit into my lifestyle. I already know that whatever handbag that I fall in love with and I'm obsessing over in that moment will look beautiful on a shelf. I'll know that off the bat, but the other part of the question, as I said, was how is this going to fit into my wardrobe and how is this going to fit into my lifestyle? And is this something I'm going to love long term? Because one huge pain point for me is I hate selling bags. Number one, I hate losing money on it, but number two, I hate the whole anxiety and process of selling a handbag. Because for me, I know I'll never be flippant and thinking, oh, well, just sell it. I know a lot of people are like, well, just sell it if you don't like it. Selling is a big deal. It's something I'll try to avoid at all costs. It allows me to be a lot more careful in my consideration on whether or not I'm going to buy a handbag. And that's why for me, curating handbags is such an important and much easier process for me, because when I'm asking myself those questions, those pain points that I'm really trying to avoid, it allows me to be much more considered, a lot more deliberate, a lot more careful, and slower in my decision making before I actually purchase a bag, because I really need to think long term about its practicality, its longevity, and whether or not it's going to fit in my shelves. Because I'm also not trying to bust out of my shelves. And I never want to be at a point where I'm arranging my bags like this. Now, there's absolutely nothing wrong with arranging your bags like this, but now this becomes like a library where you can only see the spine of the book and you can't admire the actual book. I want to admire the actual bag. I don't want to see the side of the bag. And that defeats the purpose of having a display shelf, because I want to see them like a boutique. Because once you start squishing things in such a way where you can't see them anymore, it's no longer a display, it's now storage. And this is not a storage unit for me, this is a display unit for me. So I guess that's where I'm trying to distinguish things. And it's also a very personal decision and personal preference, to be honest. So going back to the question of, am I ever going to reach purse piece? I guess the short answer is no. The more nuanced answer is, I'm at a place where I recognize I only have a certain amount of physical space. I know that I want to display it in a certain way. I also know that I have a certain lifestyle that I am very realistic about. And I know my pain point of hating the process of selling bags. So if I know all those things, it really slows me down in my buying process. It really makes me very deliberate in the process in which I think about buying bags. But I definitely make mistakes in buying. I just try to minimize them, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And so my particular collection brings me a lot of joy and pleasure. So that too kind of slows me down in the process of give me more, give me more. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I love handbags way too much that I could never say to myself, I will never buy another handbag because I'm at purse piece. And I think that there's just way too many beautiful bags, way too many beautiful collections, way too much variety, and so many different brands at low end, high end, middle end that are so beautiful that I will always love, that I will always appreciate. And no, I don't need to buy them all, but I want the option to. And for me, I feel like I've practiced my way to curation, that I'm at a point where I can really slow down, I can really sit back and really think about things before I actually buy them. And again, not to say I'm not going to make mistakes along the way, but I do think I'm at a way better point where I can actually be realistic with myself and say, I will never be at purse piece, but I will also never swing the other way to the extreme of buying every handbag that I love. For some people, purse piece is an actual number, whether it be having 3 perfect handbags or 300 perfect handbags, or whatever that barometer is for you for measuring what purse piece means to you. It's different for everyone. I'd be interested in knowing what purse piece means to you and if you think you'll ever reach it. So share with me what your perspective is on this particular topic, because I think a lot of us have very different angles and perspectives on these things. And I think it's a very interesting conversation to have in the comments. So let me know and share them down below. And I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, then I would love it if you can hit the thumbs up button. And also, if you want to binge watch some of my other videos, then go right ahead here. And I will see you in the next video.